Africa seems to have gotten the lottery when it comes to coups. And based on how things have been going, we are seeing there might be a coup in the horizon. And you might find that you would be the next coup leader in Africa. And today, in this special episode of the African Footprint podcast, we are going to look at the tools coup leaders have used in the past so that they are able to seize the reins of power. And maybe this might help you to be the next coup leader. So sit back, relax, and let's delve into the life of the coup leaders. So welcome to my art studio, and in front of you is a mosaic of the coup leaders that we've had in Africa. I did some bit of craft work for you guys just to show you one unique thing that our very beloved coup leaders love. And you'll realize as you become a coup leader, you'd want to add titles and heap titles upon your name. I came to realize that these guys are in love. They love titles. And one thing that you'll see is as long as you become a president, on the minimum, you need to start by being a life president. Such thing happened with our very own Kamuzu Banda, who was the president of Malawi, and he had declared himself the life president. It was actually part of his title. And when he came in, interestingly, you see that this guy was ousted just before he died. So he would have actually gone ahead to be the life president of Malawi, but well, things happened the way they did. Look at someone who has been in power for such a long time, like the Equatorial Guinea's president, Teodoro Obiang. Look at someone like Nguema, who has been in power and they are still holding strong to the reins of power. Look at guys like Idi Amin Dada. Idi Amin Dada was, when they made the movie The Last King of Scotland, he actually had declared himself as the one who was able to conquer Scotland. And he came in and he even had a very interesting title. He was known as Idi Amin Dada, Field Marshal. And again, Field Marshal, you'll realize that it is a name that occurs over and over and over and over again. But he was Field Marshal Idi Amin Dada, the Lord over the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. This guy had godly powers, you can imagine, with the titles that they had given himself. Look at someone such as Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh was known as Sheikh Yahya Jammeh, JJ Babil Mansa. This guy, the title that he had given himself, Babil Mansa in the Mandinka language actually means that the conqueror of rivers and the bridge builder, someone who connects people. Interestingly, during his reign, he led to the death of so many people and so many groups split apart. But well, he is the bridge builder, as he'd want to put it. Look at someone such as Mobutu Sese Seko, who was another field marshal. And you'll see that the title that he gave himself, he actually was initially called Joseph Mobutu. And afterwards, he changed his name. One thing that he was driving within his country was everyone was to have a traditional name. So he went away with the name Joseph, and he took the name Mobutu Sese Seko. And his title became Ngbendu Wazabanga, which meant the warrior who goes from conquest to conquest, leaving fire in his wake. And indeed, he left fire in his wake, because after he left that country, everything went kaput. And one final guy that I want us to consider, and him I find to be the most erratic out of all of them, and this is the president Jean Bedel Bokassa. And Bokassa was someone who had entrenched in his mind the idea of the monarchy of the European nations, and he declared himself as the emperor. And by him becoming the emperor, you can even see from his dressing, he had crowns. He was dressed like the Caesar. He actually had a crown like the queen. He had a palatial space that he dwelt in, and all of this was to show that he was a god amongst men. So if you want to be a coup leader, number one, think about the title they're going to be called. Don't just have your name. Don't just be a Mr. Nobody. No one cares about that. Have a title that people will remember. One thing that you also need to realize about the leaders that we're looking at, the dictators and the coup leaders, you always need to have a scapegoat that you're going to put all the blame game on, so that people won't focus on you. It's basically like doing a magic illusion. You tell people to look at this hand, but where the magic is really happening is behind the curtain. And one very good example of someone who was able to implement this is the illustrious Robert Mugabe. Robert did something that was very interesting in Zimbabwe after he took power. He went ahead and told the black people, who were the majority in the country, that the reason why there was poverty, the reason why there had not been development, the reason why the country was in shambles was because the white people owned the land, the white people owned the businesses. The white people are the ones who had been pretty much at the helm of power for a very long time. And because of that, for there to be any economic freedom, any social justice, the white man had to go. And after that, in the 80s, so many white people had to move from Zimbabwe, going to the other countries, going into South Africa, going into Europe, going back into the West, so that he would remain with the people who are, number one, not as well trained as the white settlers who are there, but at the same time, people who are more admissible and people who are more amenable to his ideas. One other guy who was able to do that, and interestingly, we just got feedback from Uganda on the same, that Yoweri Museveni was able to come and say that it was a mistake that was done. This is Idi Amin Dada. When he took power, he chased away all the Indians from Uganda, saying that those businesses were going to be taken over by the black people so that they would have economic freedom, so that they won't be responding to any other person of any race, but that the black person would take his destiny in his own hands. And what happened after that? We know the country went into shambles. The Ugandan shilling collapsed. Uganda was almost going to become a banana state if it was not for the war that happened between Tanzania with President Nyerere and Idi Amin, which ousted him. So we can see that if you want to be a cool leader in Africa, always have someone that you're going to blame. Take, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo, formerly known as Zaire, with Mobutu Sese Seko, who came in and took over power from someone who was his friend and his ally, Patrice Lumumba. When he came into power, Mobutu went over and destabilized the country. And through some of the plans that he had, one thing that he was thinking about doing was nationalizing some of the mines that were there, the copper mines. And by doing that, apparently, money never came back. So he had to go and kiss the hand that brought him to power, the Western nations that required uranium, the Western nations that required copper and gold. And because of that, Congo has never been the same. The same thing has applied in other cases here in Africa. And you'd realize that for you, when you want to come into power, you'd always have to kiss the ring. And this, just as I've mentioned, most likely will be the Western powers. It might be an economical dictatorship, such as what we might be experiencing in Kenya right now, or it might be in a different way. But at the end of the day, one thing will have to give. So be ready to know which boot you're going to lick. As probably you might have realized, we have talked a lot about one Mr. Joseph Desire Mobutu, or rather, the guy that we famously refer to as Mobutu Sese Seko. You know, one thing that he was able to do that I find to be interesting and would also go a long way when you decide to steal power from the legitimate rulers is you need to have people around you who are able to die for you. You need to have your cronies, and your cronies need to be luminaries who will live for you and will die for you. Something that you realize when you come to power, one, is everyone will want to be around you. Not for the right reasons. Obviously, because you've stolen power, you are also not a good person. So the people that you'll be having around you will be almost, at least, bad people. And most of them will want political favors. Most of these people will want to have access, high-ranking access to yourself, so that they can be able to have powers that would not necessarily be given to them. So in this particular case, what would you do? As Mobutu would think about doing, number one, you go and build an El Dorado right in the middle of a wilderness. He went back home to where he hailed from, a place called Agbolite, and he went and built a city. It was actually known as the Versailles of the jungle, being that it was extremely developed but extremely remote. Not everyone could access the place, but when you went there, it felt like you were in a totally different country. You might have even been more or less in the Wakanda world that we see in fiction. And in the city that he built, you can imagine he had an airport that could even carry a Concorde, which was the biggest and the most luxurious airplane that was flown by the French. Remember, the French were the people who were supporting Mobutu during that time. Then the other thing, he had universities. Everyone who was there, pretty much, I wouldn't even say had jobs, but these people were living the high life. They had money. These guys were living in rivers of milk and honey. And because of that, everyone saw Mobutu as the savior and the provider. And maybe in this particular case, you'd also want to do that. You'd want to be seen as a savior because, again, the title that you're going with is a savior. So you'd want to take those people, you need to put them close, people who will serve like meat shields in case people decide to attack you. These are people who are going to die for you. So that is one other thing that you need to consider when you are having this run for Coup. The life of Coup leaders is not a simple thing. It requires dedication, it requires finesse, it requires some bit of tact and intelligence to see how you'll maneuver through the political landscape now that it has changed for the worst. And just as we've talked about, we've seen that for you to be the best Coup leader, you need to consider the rhetoric that you're going to be using. You need to consider who you're going to be blaming. You need to find who you're going to kiss the ring of. And finally, you need to know who are your cronies. But you know what? As we consider all of these things, whether it is you, whether it is me, whether it is even that unborn child who is going to be the next leader in the next 50 years, everybody just wants to rule the world.